This is Module 4, end of module review. The first thing is that we have to find the product, and the product tells us that we need to multiply. So when we multiply 6/7 times 15, we can't leave this as just 15. We have to remember a whole number has a 1 underneath it, and we multiply straight across, and we get 90/7. This is improper because the numerator is bigger than the denominator, so what we need to do is we need to make it into a mixed number, which would be 12 and 6/7. Next, the price of a t-shirt is $36. It goes on sale. It will be 1/4 less. How much would you save if it were on sale? We're not trying to find out the sale price. We just want to know what we're going to save. So 1/4 of the 36 is what we're saving. This time I could put a 1 underneath, but I don't need to do that because I can do 36 divided by 4 is 9, and 9 times 1 is 9, and we know we end up then that we saved $9. Once again, we have product, which tells us to multiply. So we have 2/6 times 4/7, and we just multiply straight across. And when we do that, we end up with 8/42. They're both even numbers, so I know that I can simplify. So I'm going to start by dividing them both by 2. And we end up with 4/21. Next, Eric has 3/4 of a box of cookies. So he has this, and this, and this. He eats 7/10 of the cookies. So now we're going in the opposite direction. And we would shade in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the 10. So we're finding 7/10 of 3/4. 7/10 of 3/4 is 21/40. But I don't want to know how much he ate. What the question is asking is how much of the box is left. So if 40 is the whole, because that's the denominator, and I take away 21 because he ate 21/40, I end up with 19. So 19/40 is what's left to still be eaten. Next, we have the product. Product, once again, means to multiply. The product of 6 1/3 times 4/6. I cannot leave it as a mixed number. I have to make it improper, which would be 19/3 times 4/6. I don't make common denominators when I'm multiplying. That's when I add and subtract. So 19 times 4 is 76 over 18. I can't leave it like that. It's an improper fraction. So I have to see how many times 18 can go into 76. If I'm not sure, I come over on the side and I can do some work over here to try to figure it out. I can take a guess and say maybe it's 18 times 4, which would be 72. That's pretty close. So we're going to say 4 and 4/18. But I also have to simplify that. So we're going to divide both of these by 2. And we're going to bring over our whole number, and we have 4 and 2/9. Okay, next, product, again, is to multiply. So we have 9 4/5 times 2/3. We cannot leave 9 4/5 as a mixed number. We said before we have to change it. So 5 times 9 is 45, plus 4 is 49, and we have 49/5 times 2/3. end up with 98/15. And we have to see how many times can 15 go into 98 because it's improper. I can't leave it that way. So once again, we're going to do some math on the side and see maybe let's try 15 times 6. That would get me to 90. That seems pretty close. So it's going to go in 6 times. And then we have 8 left over out of 15. Next question. Quotient and divided. So we know we're doing division. 9 divided by. So 9 is the first number. It's 9 divided by 4/6. And we had learned when we do division, we have keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep the 9 and we're going to put a 1 over under it. Change, and we're going to flip the second number upside down. That's called a reciprocal. And we end up with 54/4, but we can't leave it that way. It's improper. So we're going to see how many times it can go in. And we're going to have that it can go in 13 times and 2/4. And we have to simplify that. Will get me to 13 and 1/2. Next, we have 6 pizzas. And everyone ate 2/5 of the pizza. How many people had pizza? Well, every person is eating this amount. So we have to see how many of those we have in there. So we're going to take our 6. We're going to divide it by 2/5. We just talked about this keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep this, which has a 1 under it. We're going to change, and we're going to flip it upside down. And we end up with 30/2. We can't leave it improper. So the next thing we're going to do is 30 divided by 2, and our answer is 15. Next question. Jack paid $34.62 for 3 sweatshirts, but we want to know how each one, we want to separate it. So we're going to do 3 into $34.62. So 3 goes into 3 one time. 3 goes into 4 one time. We have that decimal we have to bring up. 3 goes into 16 5 times. And 3 goes into 12 4 times. So the answer would be it's $11.54 for each sweater. Question 10 was what we learned today, the last lesson of the unit. If Jeff paid $47.25 for 3 5/10 kilograms of lobster, what is it per single kilogram? Well, we have to take our 3 5/10 and we're dividing it into our $47.25. We learned today that we jump the number on the outside, so we jump it once. That means we only jump it once here. So my decimal is now right there. 35 goes into 4 0 times, but it goes into 47 one time, which makes 35. Now we want to see how many times this goes in. So we're going to say it goes in 3 times. And when we subtract this, we have to see now how many times does 35 go into 175. 35 goes into 175 5 times. And we come out with 13 5/10. When I look through all of these, it cannot be this choice, it cannot be this choice, and it cannot be this choice. And it's okay that there's an extra 0 on the outside. It's $13.50. Pam is making 5 apple pies. She uses 3 1/3 cups of apples for each pie. So I want to know how much she uses in all. So this is for 1 pie, but I want to know about 5 pies. So we said when we multiply, we have to change things to improper fractions. So this should be 10/3 times 5, and we're going to put the 1 underneath it to make it easy to multiply straight across, and we end up with 50 thirds. We can't leave it improper, so we're going to change it back. So we make sure that we change it back into a mixed number. We end up with 16 and 2/3. Next, the rectangular sign is 4/9 foot wide and 8/9 foot long. What's the area? Well, the formula for area is length times width. So the length is 8/9 and the width is 4/9. And when I multiply across, I get 32/81. And the reason it's square feet is because if I do feet times feet, because it's 8/9 of a foot and 4/9 of a foot, that is equal to feet to the second power, which is feet squared. Next, Rachel has 12 feet of string. She divides the string into 18 pieces that are the same length. So she has 12 feet of string. She's splitting it into groups of 18. 12 divided by 18. We don't actually have to do the division, but we do have to simplify. And I can see that both of these can be divided by 3. And we end up with 4/6. And then I see, well, wait, I can divide again. If I divide them both by 2 and divide by 2, I end up with 2/3. If back at the beginning I wanted to divide by 6 because I saw it, then that would get me directly to the 2/3. Next, Amanda has 18 cups of sugar to share to make 15 batches of cookies. So we're splitting up the sugar, we're not splitting up the cookies. So it's 18 divided by 15 equals 18/15. You can't leave it, it's improper. It would be 1 3/15, which would be 1 1/5. Lauren reads 1/3 of a book in 4 days. What did she read each day? So I have to take my 1/3 of a book and split it up over 4 days. We've learned there is a 1 here, but we're going to go with our keep, change, flip. And we end up with 1/12 of the book. Five friends share 3 Sundays equally. Am I splitting up my friends or am I splitting up my Sundays? So I want to make sure that I'm splitting up my Sundays. We're dividing our Sundays by the 5 friends. So each person gets 3/5 of a Sunday because this is 3 divided by 5. Same thing as 3 divided by 5. For a party, Sam bought cookies. 4/6 are sugar. Of the sugar, 2/3 have sprinkles. What fractions are sugar with sprinkles? So 2/3 of the sugar cookies have sprinkles. So that gets us to 8/18, which we have to simplify. And I am going to divide these both by 2 to get what I want. And I end up with 4/9. Question 18. At a pizza shop, large pizza takes 3/4 of a pint. Medium pizza takes 1/3 of the large. So 1/3 of the large. And we end up with 3/12, which gives us 1/4 when we simplify. And a bag of marbles weighs 3 2/5 ounces. Joe puts 3 1/3 bags of marbles on the scale. How much do they weigh? So this is for 1, but Joe has decided he's going to put this on there. I have to change both of these to improper fractions first. And I have to do my division because I can't leave it improper. And it's 11 1/3. And then the last question, a store has 5 boxes of DVDs. They sold 3/4 of a box each day. How long would it take them to sell all the DVDs? Well, this gets a little confusing because you see the word of, but we're not finding 3/4 of 5 boxes. We want to see how many 3/4 are inside the 5 boxes. So we're really dividing. And we're going to keep change and flip. So we keep the first number with a 1 underneath. We change that to multiplication and we flip it. And when we do that, we end up with 20/3. And we end up with 6 2/3, which we can't leave our answer as 6 2/3. Our answer, 6 would not be enough days because we still need 2/3. So we need 7 days.